So I had these two different pieces, this piece of like, I don't want the path I'm on anymore. I can't continue this way. And then on the other hand, I see this vision and I feel this desire for this other path, this other way forward. And so I made a choice. It was a decision point where I said, I am absolutely choosing this other reality. And from that decision point, everything changed.
Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm Makena Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode.
Hello. I'm so excited for this episode today, and it is actually my birthday today. Yay! I love birthdays, and anyone in my life will tell you this, that my birthdays are not just a single day. They are usually at least a week of celebrations, and this year is no different. So my family is in town visiting this week, and I'm recording this a couple days ahead, but my actual birthday will be the day that this goes live. So super excited, and I wanted to bring a special episode for my birthday to talk about a topic that I get asked about a lot. It's a huge part of my story, and I just led a workshop on this in Austin, Texas a couple of weeks ago. And the topic is around burnout and getting stuck in go mode. So I talk to so many women when I say, who in this room feels like you are in go, go, go mode most of the time. 90 to 95% of the room of women typically raises their hands. And burnout, it might be a slightly smaller number, maybe it's 50, 60%. Are you feeling burned out? But these are high numbers. And for many, many years, that was my story. That was my journey. I would venture to say that for basically my entire adult life, I was in this go, go, go mode and flirting in and out of seasons of burnout. And so I've really shifted this over the last 2-3 years. It's been a journey for, let's say, 5-6 years where I've been intentionally making changes in this. But really in the last couple of years is when it started to click and my experience of life drastically changed. So I'm going to be looking down on and off if you're watching the video, because I'm actually just going to look at my handwritten notes here from my workshop that I led, because I thought this is something I would love to share with women everywhere, not just the people who could come to my workshop. So I'll be going over some of what we covered in that live in-person experience. And just to say that my experience of life and work is very different today. And I've touched on this in previous episodes, that I love what I do. I make great money at it. I'm relaxed and in a lot of flow most of the time. It doesn't mean that I don't have days that are stressful or where I don't feel like I'm in flow. But I would say, 80% of the time, I have a lot of that feeling of coming from ease. And so even when life is busy or there's things going on, my inner state feels peaceful and relatively easeful. And then I still tap into go mode. I really like go mode. And if you listen to our previous episode on go mode and flow mode, then you know a lot of what I'm talking about here. If you haven't listened to that episode, I do recommend going back and checking it out, because we really go deep into what is go mode and what is flow mode. These are what we've recoined the terms masculine and feminine, because they're not necessarily gender related. We all have both energies within us. And so when it comes to generating results, to creating, to moving something forward in the world, go mode is a really powerful and can be a fun energy to tap into. So it's not a bad thing in and of itself. It's just when we get stuck there and we can't seem to shift out of it that it can be really detrimental. Especially I've observed to women, and women's physical bodies don't seem to be designed quite as much. I don't think anyone's designed to be in this all the time, but we especially aren't designed physically, physiologically as a generalization to operate in go mode all the time. And so I've really learned, how can I harness go mode? How can I utilize this energy at different times and places in my life, but also really tap into that flow? And that dance between these two energies has been so freeing, has shifted my experience of my life so much. I have more energy. I feel more inspired. I just have far less health issues. I mean, I'll talk about more of that in my story. So that's really where I want to begin, is to tell my story, which some of you have heard, but even if you have, I really recommend listening from this perspective of this topic of burnout to balance, or being stuck in go mode and learning to dance between the go and the flow. And notice, is there anything that lands for you today that really resonates for you? And if you're hearing it for the first time, same thing. And then I will tell a couple of other stories of clients, because I love to teach through stories. And I want to share how I and Gigi, how we've helped them to shift out of the burnout into more balance, but also to grow their incomes in the process and grow their businesses and have better lives. And so it's not just this one piece, it's really holistic. That's really the way that we work with people, whether you're just listening to our podcast or actually working with us, in a program. And so you'll be able to really take something away today from either my story or maybe from theirs. So the first part of my story is really this phase of starting from a really young age. We went through financial ups and downs in my teens, and we had a lot of other stressors going on with both my parents getting sick and moving multiple times. And I, especially around the financial insecurity, thought I never want to struggle for money again. And this was something that I made a decision about at a young age. And because of that decision, I said, well, I'm just going to work really hard to be successful, whatever that means to me. So I studied really hard. I got straight A's, went into university after being homeschooled K through 12, got straight A's there pretty much throughout, and worked really hard. I had multiple jobs on campus, not only to support me there, in that current time, but also to gain experience. I, partied a lot. I'm involved in extracurriculars. So I'm just burning the candle at every end there possibly is. And by the time I graduated, I was so exhausted. I was sleeping sometimes 4 hours a night, and then I would just crash by Thursday every week. I remember, because I was so tired. But I was in so much fear underneath around, well, I don't want to struggle financially. I want to make sure I get a good job. I want to make sure I'm going to be successful. That this really created this go inside of me. And that's not the reason it starts for all women. We see different reasons that it starts for different women. But often there is some aspect of financial, desire for financial stability or success, or maybe to prove something to someone. There's some reason, and you can kind of track back for you and go, where did this all start for me? Did someone say something to me that, you never want to depend on your partner to support you financially? Like, there's so many reasons I see that women get caught up in this go. But it started in my teens, carried in through university, and then into my first business as a marketing expert and direct response copywriter. So I started my first business 6 months out of university, and I was just, full on 60 to 80 hours a week building this business, grew it to 6 figures very quickly. And again, was just still burning the candle at both ends. And it got a little better over the years in the sense that I wasn't working quite as much, but I was still exhausted. I would go through these periods of just feeling like I just can't handle this anymore. I had a lot of deadlines, a lot of different clients, and I was making great money. Things were great on the outside at that point, but inside I was falling apart. And I started to have anxiety and full-blown panic attacks. And this went on for several years before I really got to the point where I was so done with it and had tried everything I could think of. And I just knew that I had to make a change. And so 2017, I believe, was when I finally said, okay, I feel like my body is talking to me. This anxiety, these panic attacks must be my body trying to tell me something. And so I thought, I feel like it has something to do with making a shift in my career, that this isn't right for me anymore, even though I liked aspects of what I did a lot and I was successful at it. But there was something telling me like, there's something that needs to change. There's something more you're meant to be doing. And so I thought, well, I've always wanted to coach. I'm going to try stepping into coaching. And so that was 2017. I tried and failed, as I've shared before, to start a coaching business. I went out there, put myself out there. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't really have support. And I flopped, basically. I was not making enough money to sustain myself. I was barely making any money at all. And that was really embarrassing and disheartening. And so I thought, well, maybe I'm not supposed to make this change after all. I went back into my marketing business just to pay my bills, and the cycle continued. 2018, February of 2018 was really my huge pivotal turning point moment. And this was when Gigi and I were, my mom and my mentor, Gigi, who co-hosts this show, we were leading a mastermind retreat in Costa Rica for a mastermind that she led, and I was one of the coaches for. And we went a couple of days early, and she led me through this really powerful experience that I didn't even know was happening at the time. But she was asking me questions, and she got me into the space where I was so relaxed and I wasn't trying to think about what did I want next. And this is huge, because if you are stuck in the go, go, go mode, or you are feeling burned out and exhausted and you're just so busy in your life, in that energy, you're not going to be able to see clearly. I hate to say it, but it's not just my experience. We've seen this again and again and again with clients, because that's kind of like that Einstein quote we talk about a lot, which is you can't solve a problem from the same level of thinking that created it. So you're in a certain energy there, you're in a certain level of thinking, and that's not going to be the place where you solve the problem because you're stuck in the problem. And so what happened there in those 2 days in Costa Rica was that Gigi, whenever I would try to figure it out and solve it from my mind, she would distract me. We would go get a massage. We would go for a walk on the beach. And so I started to unwind, and I unwound physically, emotionally. I just felt this unwinding in me and this relaxation coming in that I hadn't felt in a long time. And then she would ask me questions, or we would just dialogue in this way that felt very more in flow. It wasn't structured and trying to figure something out. And over the course of that 2 days, clarity dawned. It was like, oh my gosh, I saw my life stretch out in front of me, and I saw exactly what I wanted to do, that I definitely wanted to coach, and that not only did I want to coach, but I wanted to learn from Gigi, from my mom, and have her mentor me. And I saw this vision for that, and us leading retreats around the world and programs with people all over the world. And I asked her, would you consider this? And I was turning 30 that year. She was turning 60. And so basically she said, yes, but you're going to need to learn some things first. And, you're going to have to let me coach you, essentially. But I had so much energy and inspiration from this vision and also I really saw that if I didn't make a change, I did not like what I saw in the future. I kind of fast forwarded a couple of years into the future and thought, oh, like that version of the future, if I keep going the way that I'm going, doesn't look good. It frankly was a little scary to me. And I thought, I can't keep going this way. I have to shift something. My body is telling me I have to shift something. And so I had these two different pieces, this piece of like, I don't want the path I'm on anymore. I can't continue this way. And then on the other hand, I see this vision and I feel this desire for this other path, this other way forward. And so I made a choice. It was a decision point where I said, I am absolutely choosing this other reality. And from that decision point, everything changed. And it wasn't that, it was that one moment. I had to keep choosing, but I went all in on a different path. And that was what really led me to step into coaching and Gigi mentoring me and me getting support from her and from other coaches and learning the business side of coaching as well as the coaching side of coaching, and applying what I was learning to myself and having my own transformation in the process. So within 8 months, I had successfully replaced my 6-figure income through coaching, and I was able to make the transition fully into work that I loved. And I had this limiting belief before that I couldn't make great money doing what I loved. But once I did it, once I actually proved that wrong, it was such a powerful awakening for me of, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. I'm making great money doing work I love. And within a few months of making that transition, the anxiety went away, or I'd say the panic attacks went away completely. The anxiety went away 90%. I would have it pop up every once in a while, but for the most part, a total shift in the way that I experienced life. And I felt so excited, so on path. I mean, I was working hard. It was not easy in those early days. I don't want to make it sound like it was all sunshine and butterflies. It was hard work starting a new business and starting over. I had to learn sales. I had to learn marketing in a new way. It was a totally different experience to be doing it for my own business and not for somebody else. And so, there were many, many challenges, but deep down, it was like at the end of the day, I felt this feeling like, I'm on path. I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. So that was, again, 2018 when I made that transition. And looking back on this kind of first big breakthrough, this first big death and rebirth, as I like to call it, or rebirth cycle of reinventing myself and completely changing my direction, I really learned a couple of things there. I disproved, is that a word? I disproved this belief of I can't make great money doing what I loved. And I proved it wrong, and I did it anyway. And then B, I really saw, looking back, I was like, wow, the burnout wasn't just because I was working hard. It wasn't about how much I was working, although of course that sometimes played a role. It was because something wasn't in alignment for me. It was because my soul was asking me to do something different, and I wasn't listening. And so it got louder and louder and louder until it finally got my attention. And that was what the anxiety and the panic attacks and all these things were about. And so I came up with this quote that I often share, which is, burnout isn't just physical exhaustion, it's exhaustion of the soul. Burnout isn't just physical exhaustion, it's exhaustion of the soul. And so in that, a lot of the times, if you're feeling burned out or you're feeling like you're just constantly stuck in this go mode, it's like something might be trying to get your attention there. And it doesn't mean you need a full career change or some huge change like that, but there might be something you're not listening to that's deep underneath there. And that's what this is really about. And that might have to do with how much you're working or the way that you're working, and it might not. It just depends. So I really wanted to share that part of the story. And then the second rebirth is that I was in that business, built it up to $500,000 a year. I was leading retreats and programs all over the world, really fulfilling this dream that I had and this vision I'd had. And we had our coaching certification going and all kinds of different programs, our mastermind. And in 2022, so this was about 4 years into that business, I had a health scare. I had some health issues pop up that had happened in the past. They weren't life-threatening, thank goodness, but it really all of a sudden kind of brought me face to face again with like, what is my body trying to tell me? And I remember sitting on my bed in Austin, Texas, where I was living at the time, and just really freaking out and being like, last time my body was talking to me like this or in a different way, it meant I needed to make a career change. And I did it. I was courageous. I took the step, but here I am doing this work that I love, and my body's telling me something here. What is this about? And so I really kind of stopped my world for a short time there. I didn't stop my business, of course, but internally, I had to stop and face into what's going on here. I knew better than to ignore it. And so with Gigi's support, we had some conversations about this, and I did some deep diving, and I really discovered over the course of some time that it wasn't the work I was doing this time that needed to change. I was in alignment there. It was the way that I was working. So even though I had stepped into work I loved, I was making great money doing it, the alignment piece was there, but the actual way that I was working day to day, I was overworking. I was still burning the candle at both ends. It was just in work that I loved now. And so that really had to change. My body was saying, you can't push this way and keep going. It's not sustainable. So as a result of that, I really leaned into that rebirth cycle. I really, even though it was painful and uncomfortable to do the soul searching and figure out what was underneath there, I said, I know from last time that if I take my time with this and I don't lean into it, it's only going to drag out and take longer. So I'm going to lean in fully. Whatever the message is here for me, I'm going to receive it. I'm up for it. And so I kind of surrendered in that moment. And within about 6 months, I really had the clarity and I really had the new energy and inspiration. And I had completely shifted the way that I was approaching not only my work, but my life. I saw that for me, I really wanted to have this feeling of creativity and bringing through what wanted to come through me. And I reoriented my life that way. And we simplified a few things in the business, restructured a little bit. Most things stayed the same from the outside, but internally and the way that I was working changed. And that was the huge, huge breakthrough for me in terms of my experience of life. And to this day, that was 2022. We're now in the middle of 2024. So 2 years later, I have a very different experience, as I shared before, of my life and my work. I rarely have times, of course, it pops in every once in a while, or there's a really busy week, but I rarely have times where I feel that way anymore, where I feel stretched and not a good way. And I'm pushing, harder than maybe I'd like to. I have a lot of ease. I have a lot of balance. My work, I end work at a good time. I exercise, I care for myself. I really have shifted things so much in this regard. And so this was really about a different kind of shift, a different kind of rebirth to learning to dance between go and flow. And that's hugely what I learned in that time. Before, my limiting belief was I have to work harder to be successful. I have to work really hard in order to be successful. But what I disproved through this rebirth was I disproved that, and I showed actually when I'm attending to myself, when I'm caring for myself in the right way, when I dance between these energies, I don't go fully over to the flow because I wouldn't get anything done there. But I utilize the go in the right timing, and I utilize the flow in the right timing. And then I design my life around the lifestyle I want and how I want to feel. When I do those things, I actually thrive on all levels, financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And so that was really the new belief that I stepped into, the new experience that I stepped into there. And so this was hugely where Gigi taught me a lot about rhythm and environment, the importance of your environment as a woman in your work, and self-care, and how to really care for yourself in such a way that you're nurturing yourself and you actually unwind and you get into that flow, because not all self-care is created equal. And, you can get your nails done, but being totally multitasking and not relaxed at all, right? And how to set up the support and the systems in our business, which is more the quote unquote masculine or go mode side of things, to support more of the flow. And so this has been a continuous learning, a continuous journey. We actually have a program coming up on this topic I'm super excited about in the Collective, which is our monthly membership program. We're doing a course on the way of feminine business, because this is hugely what Gigi taught me, and it's made a really, really big difference in my life and in our business. And so this was the second part of my story, the second big rebirth in the last 6 or 7 years. And I'm curious, for you to reflect what really resonates with you from these stories that I've shared so far. So are you stuck maybe in this feeling of I'm in the go, 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 or my soul is trying to tell me something, I don't know what it is? Are you in that sort of burnout as exhaustion of the soul part? Or, are you really like, I feel like I'm aligned, I'm doing what I love, things are working for the most part of my life, there's a lot of alignment, but it doesn't feel quite the way I thought it would feel. I'm still stressed, I'm still feeling burned out, or I'm still stuck in that go mode. So just notice, are there little tidbits from these stories that resonate and that land for you? And then I want to tell a couple of other stories just quickly here. One of them is a client who, when she came and started working with us, she was also having anxiety, she was having burnout, and she was running a business that she wanted to continue running, but she didn't really feel inspired to grow it anymore. She was around the 90K mark in her business. And she just was like, I don't even have the energy to grow this. I'm exhausted. So over the course of our work together, the first year, she went from 90K to 145,000 in her business in the first year that we worked together. The second year, she went to over 200,000 in her business. And then we just had a session the other day. She told me she's already $35,000 higher this year than she was last year at this time. So she's on track for amazing results this year. But it's not just the financial results. She really, within a few months, similar to me, her anxiety attacks were gone. So she was having them almost daily when she started with us. Her anxiety attacks went away. She's now moving into her dream home with her family. Her relationship with her husband has changed completely. Her relationship with her kids. She has so much more support in her business and has so much more meaning. She really started some projects that have meaning for her. And that was something that was really missing a little bit before. She enjoyed aspects of what she did, but there was a piece of wanting to feel like she was contributing in a bigger way. And so I just want to share, like, how did she make that change, right? It's great to hear these stories and we go, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I want something like that. But how did we do that? So I really went back and thought through, like, what was the progression? And there's a couple things I want to share with you. So first was we really cleaned up energy leaks in her life and her business. We looked at what were the drains on her time and her energy that were pulling her and distracting her and draining her vitality. We talk a lot on this podcast about aliveness, what brings you alive and what drains your energy. And so we really looked at that. What were her zappers and energy leaks? And we systematically went through those over time and started to clean those up. And then as we did that, she had more energy, right? There was less kind of push-pull and drain and more energy for what she wanted to do and to even look at what she wanted to do. And then we got clear on a vision, like, what was her deeper desire? You know, it's great to make more money, but why did she want that? And what else was she longing for? So she wanted a certain experience in her family and her marriage. She wanted to travel with her family and take these big trips abroad with them, or be able to travel in the summers and, you know, move into this home that she was dreaming of. And so we really crafted this vision similar to how Gigi worked with me and helped me see a vision that really pulled me forward. As we continued on in the coaching, we designed this vision that pulled her forward. And so one was like the energy leaks were draining before, we got those cleaned up. And then the aliveness piece, the vision piece, was hugely, there were different aspects to it, but that vision that pulled her forward, that gave her the fuel to make the changes that needed to be made in order to grow her business and change her life. And so that's really great for you to take a look at in your own life, is like, what are those energy drains and what is that vision that pulls me forward? The other story I want to tell is another client. She had been doing her work when she came to us. She'd been in her work for about 20 years. And she'd never made more than six figures. And she was just like, I am so ready. And a lot of times with our clients, these both have financial components. It's not always the case. Some of our clients are retired, or they're in a different stage of life, or they don't need to earn, or they're home with their kids. There's different aspects. But for many of them, there is this component of either starting a business or growing a business or growing in their career. So it has something to do with like them growing in that aspect in the business side of things. And so often these stories will have an aspect of that. So she had never made more than six figures. She was feeling totally burned out and really was at this point of like, I know something has to change and I will do whatever it takes. And that was, I think, hugely important, because that was in my story too. I was willing to do whatever it took. And sometimes for us to do what it does take for us to make that change, we need to be at that point of like, I can't keep going this way. I'm 100% ready to shift. So just know, if you're at that place, it's a really powerful place to be, because that is a decision point. It can be a turning point for you. And so when she reached out to me, we did this breakthrough call which is a deep dive, like 2-hour session. And in that, she saw, I do love the work that I'm doing, but I need to approach it in a different way. And I really want to earn more with this. And we looked at the life that she wanted again, the vision and everything that she wanted. And so now, a couple years later, I think it's been maybe 3 years, 2 or 3 years, she's made over 6 figures multiple years in a row. And the first year she did it, but she still had a lot of kind of that hard work paradigm going on, similar to me and my journey. But then the next year she really cracked the code and she got like, oh, how to do this from this place of dancing between the go and the flow, like I've talked about, of having the energy and the focus and the determination, but also really caring for herself and enjoying her life. And so now she's been making over 6 figures multiple years in a row, and she's really designed the lifestyle that she wants in her business. Like I talked about, that Gigi's really trained me or taught me or shown me and many of our clients how to do this. And it's a lot of what we'll talk about in that Way of Feminine Business program is how do you as a woman design the lifestyle you want, not just like the next goal or the next target. But what really is going to give you that energy and that fuel is that it fits with your desires all around and the way you want to feel. And do you want to travel, or do you want to live in different places, or do you want, to have a home that looks and feels a certain way? What is your vision for your next chapter so that you can step into it? Because if you don't have clarity on it, if you don't see the vision clearly, then you're just kind of going to be going through the motions. So she saw that she really wanted not only to work with her clients online, but also to have them come in person with her some of the time. And so they travel in to see her, and she wanted a relationship. And she recently, started a new relationship. She's very excited about that. So I led her through this breakthrough experience, and she saw that the fear of not making a change was bigger than the fear of making a change. And that was really for me as well. If you remember, I shared that in my story. It was like, if I keep going this way, I don't like what I see. And so that's something interesting for you to think about as well, is like, if I continue on this path and I don't make a change, which is what happens by default for most of us, where will I be a year from now or 2 years from now? And then do I want that vision for my future? And if I don't, then what's the alternative, right? What do I want? And so that one, like I said, was really looking at the lifestyle too and how she wanted to feel. So those are great questions as well. How do you want your success to feel? Not just what do you want, but how do you want to feel? This is so, so important. I saw a couple of years ago, I wanted to feel creative. I wanted to feel lit up and in flow. I wanted to feel like, a conduit for love. And I wanted to feel ease. I wanted to feel magic. And so much of that has become my day-to-day experience. So one last thing I want to share, and then we'll close out for today, is the biggest roadblock I see to women making a change around this go, go, go mode, or feeling stuck in the burnout or exhaustion kind of experience, or maybe cycling back and forth between periods where you're not that way and then periods where you are. The biggest roadblock I see is this thing of I'm scared to lose what's working. And this was hugely for me in both of my big rebirth experiences. It was hugely what came up for me. I'm scared to lose what's working. I'm scared to lose the income I've created and the reputation I've built. This was the first time. What if I can't pay my bills? I've worked so hard on all this. Why would I walk away from it all? What if it affects other parts of my life? Like, I was scared to lose what was working. And the second time, I'm scared to lose this business I've worked so hard on again, and this work that I do love, and my team, and all these things that I love about what I do. And so just notice, is there anywhere where this fear is stopping you from making a change? I'm scared to lose my income, my job security, my certainty, right? When you step out of the known, out of the world that you're in day to day and into the unknown, that can be really scary. You don't have certainty there. You don't have control. And that's where the magic happens. But it can also feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can handle that. Or, maybe you're scared to be less productive. A lot of times we think, well, I've operated this way my whole life and it's gotten me a lot of success. So what if I make this shift? What if I change things and I don't produce anymore? I just want to sit on the couch all day. And for most people, unless you really slingshot the other direction, which I have seen happen, especially if you have support, that's not likely to happen. You can really, again, learn to harness both of these energies, the go and the flow. And so I want to share a resource for you, which is the Rebirth Roadmap. It is a guide that I created, or it's a guided visualization I created and a worksheet. There's a few different things included in this, but I've talked a lot about rebirth cycles today. And so I want to give you a freebie around that, something you can do yourself if you want to kind of guide yourself deeper through, if you feel like you are going through a rebirth or a transition. And so that URL, if you want to check that out, is wayofthemuse.com/rebirth-roadmap. So wayofthemuse.com/rebirth-roadmap. So if you go there, you can download this kind of visualization and this guide, and that will really take you much, much deeper into some of the things we talked about today, especially around kind of the rebirths into this next chapter and seeing what is your soul telling you? What are you stepping into? So I did want to share that as a resource for you. And what else do I want to talk about here before we close? The main thing is what got you here isn't going to get you where you want to go, right? That's always the case in life, unfortunately. And maybe fortunately, because it means we get to keep learning and growing. So, if you are in a place where you want to make a shift of some kind and you feel like I need to break free of this burnout, or I really want to shift out of this pattern of go mode, just know that it's going to take educating yourself. It's going to take learning new ways or getting support in some way, because you've operated one way up to this time. It's what you know. And there are great things about that. And you can keep the great things while learning and evolving the other parts. And when I talk about a rebirth, I often say the rebirth doesn't have to break you down. It doesn't have to burn your life down. I often use the analogy of a phoenix, right? Burning down or burning up and then being reborn from the ashes. It doesn't need to burn your life down, but you can consciously burn the parts away that are no longer in alignment for you and keep the parts that you love and make this shift. So that's just, if you're afraid to lose what's working, just know that there is a way to navigate forward. I've done it multiple times now where I've kept the parts that work and that I love, and I've shifted the others. So that is possible. Or another way I like to say is it doesn't have to break you down, but let it break you open. So whatever you're going through right now, it doesn't have to break you down. It doesn't have to be a breakdown, but it may need to break you open. This is happening for a reason. If you believe in a higher power, you believe that life is happening for you, not to you, then whatever you're going through here is for you. It's for your highest good. So I get it. I've been there. It's been, like I said, probably the biggest challenge of my life was what we're talking about today. The too much go mode, the burnout cycle, all of the things that went with that, the health issues, the hormonal dysregulation, the anxiety, the panic attacks, all the different pieces, the strain on my marriage in the past, everything that came along with that. And I truly am on the other side of that now. And I can say that with a lot of certainty and clarity because it's been years. And though, of course, I have my moments, and we all do, my experience of life is so different. So I wish when I was going through it, I had someone to really pull back the curtain and show me. I saw people talking about how they had these lives of a lot of ease and flow. And ease and flow doesn't mean you never have challenge or struggle either. But I didn't understand, how did they get there, or what shifted, or maybe they didn't relate to me in the first place of struggling with these things. So hopefully my story today and some of the stories I've told give you some inspiration. Happy birthday to me. My birthday gift is sharing this with you. I love, love, love helping women in this arena. So thank you for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
If you love this episode and you want to go even deeper,
You'll love The Collective, our monthly membership program that is 1 part personal growth and coaching, 1 part community, and 1 part fun. Think of this as the group of girlfriends you always wish you had, plus the coaching and support to step into the woman you're meant to be and the life and success you've been dreaming of. Every 8 to 10 weeks, we begin a new season, and this season is called Boss, the Way of Feminine Business. It's all about growing your success with more ease and flow, and creating not just the income you want, but the lifestyle and fulfillment too. You can join the monthly membership for just $197 or sign up for the year and get an all-access course pass and enjoy huge savings on your annual membership. Learn more at wayofthemuse.com/collective.
That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.